What's up YouTube? This is your boy Psycho CYC again after a very long time. Yes, the motor racing season is back. The MotoGP 2021 season is underway and we just experienced the first race of the season in Doha, Qatar. I don't know where to start from. So basically this video is all about my take on the race, how it panned out throughout the weekend, and what is my take in terms of who did what and how the race happened, and what was all my interests and dislikes in terms of the race. So I wanted to share this with you all because I have a lot of followers in terms of racing community. So I don't know where to start from initially, because starting from the winter test, there has been so much lot of talks in terms of Ducati's development, in terms of top speed, in terms of aerodynamics. Yamaha has brought a lot of things in terms of changing their cons basically last year, and of course talks were Rossi going to the satellite team. So there were a lot of things happening in winter testing, and then again in Qatar when we went for the testing, a lot of things happened. So skipping that apart, we'll just go straight back to the race. There was such a lot of expectation from a lot of people, especially Ducati has signed up two young guys for their factory team, and then there were a lot of a very experienced guy, Johan Zarco, very calm guy. So I had a lot of expectations from him. And then again, there were rookies who also graduated to MotoGP, like Bastianini, Johan Martin, this guy Luca Marini, how can I forget him? These guys are really tough. They showed their potential in Moto2, and the surprising part is how they come into MotoGP and they adapt to the situation so well and so quick. So we'll start with the start of this race. I was taken aback in terms of the whole shot device of Ducati. Forget about the top three. Forget about the top three. If you talk about Bagnaia, if you talk about Jack Miller, if you talk about Johan Zarco, they were in the top guys in the front two rows. But think about this guy, a rookie, Johan Martin. He was starting from the 14th of the grid, and I saw the starting the replay video, and he just blistered. He just went. I don't know how to explain this. I have never seen anybody do such a great launch in my life. I remember 2015 in Valencia when Rossi was starting from the end of the grid, because he got a penalty. We all know that. And Rossi had a great start, and he took somewhere around 4 or 5 riders or 6 riders until the first corner, right? And this guy starting from 14, he was just I think by the time it was the first corner, he came to 4th. So Ducati has done some great work in terms of their whole shot device. So that was one. So the first 4 was leading was Ducati, and then the 2 Yamahas. So of course, I wanted to see what the Yamaha can do. So I initially felt during testing that they did a great job, but I realized that they were still suffering due to something. So before starting the race, Rossi and the satellite team, Petronas team, Rossi and Morbidelli started having issues with the bike. So they knew they had issues before even starting the race. So that's why Morbidelli was not even in the picture. He didn't even get one shot in the whole race. He was down back in the 20th or 18th throughout the race. And Rossi was there comfortably around 7th or 8th during the race, but then he started losing a lot of place. Of course, I think Brad Binder came and took him outside the line in the first corner at some point of time in the race. But then he gathered himself very well, and then he came back. So Rossi started having issues, and then he again bounced back. So there are a lot of questions in terms of Yamaha, what is happening in their garage. But then again, the questions still remains, because Vinales on the other hand, he stayed very comfortable behind Quartararo for a very long time, and then he made the move, and then he just planted the seed in terms of just taking one at a time, and when he went to the front, he just went. He started putting such a great pace that even the Ducatis could not do anything about it. So we understood that the Ducati had a straight line speed like crazy, because Johan Zarco just showed with the new top speed record of MotoGP, which is around 362 point some kilometers an hour, which is, I don't want to go to that discussion, but then we realized that the bike was so well done in terms of Yamaha in the corners and corner exits. That's what Vinales said. So they were making so much. Vinales was making so much ground in the corners and then in the exit of the corners that by the time he came to the straight, Ducati never had the bandwidth to even come close to him and attack him. So by the second half of the race, Vinales was around 1.5 seconds ahead of the Ducatis, and of course, like how the Suzukis we saw last year, they sadly never had the one lap pace to have a very good qualifying, but during the race they always came back and fought for it, and that's how Johan Mir won the World Championship. So they came very strong in the second half of the race. I had great expectations from Alex Rins, but then somehow Mir, as a world champion, he rode like a crazy guy. And I mean, I have to say this because these two Suzuki riders are so comfortable with their bike that even their passes, when they overtake other people, it is so smooth. I mean, it is not that aggressive like where I have seen Mark Marquez, where I have seen in fact even sometime Rossi also, or even other guys, like they really have to fight the bike in terms of making that line to overtake that person. But these guys, the Suzuki, they feel so comfortable and the bike feels so planted that they can make the overtake so clean, and even we saw it last year as well. So hats off to the Suzuki guys. The only problem with these Suzuki is that they don't have a straight line one lap space, so that they can start from the front of the row, or worst case scenario they can start from the second row of the grid, and then they can have a very good race. Apart then you have to like qualify on the third or the fourth row and then fight all the way through the front, and by the time you go to the front, your tires are already worn off and you are fighting in a very crucial situation where you might just lose your bike, or any situation on that point, right? So hats off to them. Of course, I feel very sad for Johan Mir because he did a great job in terms of overtaking the two Ducatis at the 2, 3, 4 corners left to go on the last lap, and he overtook Johan Zarco. But on the last corner he kind of went wide, so that he didn't get a very good drive out of the exit. And of course the Ducati came with the whole power with the slipstream, and Bagnaia was also slipstreaming Johan Zarco, and of course we saw what happened. So I mean, when talking about the whole race in terms of the factory teams, Ducati, they have done some great job, but then they have to work in terms of the bike, how it performs on the corners. I think they need to work on that. And because Qatar is particularly a track where Ducati has won for the last 2 years, I think so if I'm not wrong, and it's a track where it suits Ducati. So if Ducati has lost to Yamaha, then there's a big question of worrying for Ducati. So they have to work on that. Secondly, when it comes to Yamaha, things are still on a question mark, because Vinales, I have seen before that he just, beginning of the season, he just bounces like there's nobody around him, and then by the year progresses, he kind of falls apart with a lot of problems with the bike. So I hope Yamaha has done a great job. It's just that Quartararo, Rossi and Morbidelli was facing some issues only for this particular track. I hope that, because they were really good in the testing, they had very good lap times. I read one article of Quartararo where he said that he had the same kind of problem which Rossi had. So I am thinking they again had the similar tire degradation issue, but what I read from another article stating that Yamaha knew what was, especially the Petronas guy, they knew there was some problem before starting of the race, so they could not do anything about it. And even Morbidelli said that we'll just go ahead and race and get the laps, so that we have more data to in terms of work out what the problem was. So I am hoping that they have the problem sorted, they have the enough data to understand what has happened, so that they can bounce back next week. Coming back to Suzuki, I have no complaints with Suzuki at all. They are a really contender. They have the world championship to defend. So Johan Mir and Alex Rins will do their best to in terms of working out the whole year ahead, so that they don't lose the championship. I have no complaints with them. It's just that they have to work on their one lap pace. That is all what I want, because the bike looks absolutely planted and amazing on track. It is one of the most user friendly bike on track, and the best bike to basically conserve your tires. I haven't seen one race where Suzuki was actually having a problem with tire grip. In spite of, there are many tracks I have seen where they were just wheel spinning and burning rubber and white smoke coming out, and still by the end of the lap, end of the race, they had grip compared to the other guys. So in terms of tire grip, in terms of cornering, in terms of exit from the corners, in terms of everything possible, like the whole package looks perfect. But they have to work on the top speed, one lap pace. Yes, then again we have to come back to KTM. I mean, I'm really disappointed, because KTM showed amazing top speed. Their package was great last year. They won races, and from multiple riders. They won races from Brad Binder, they won races from Oliveira, they had podiums from Paul Espargaro. But somehow this year they kind of, from the very beginning of the testing, they were only concentrating on their race pace, but then I think their work is kind of cut short somewhere. I have to understand what is actually happening in their that side of the garage, because I didn't get a lot of article to read about KTM. But I hope that they can find out something in terms of what issue they have. I'm sure they have a lot of data from this race to manipulate and to work out for the next race in the same track. So, but then of course, Oliveira fought back at the second half of the race. He did some good race. Like he started pretty low, but then he came back again, and then he finished like 13th in the whole race. So that was pretty good. I mean, compared to what they showed last year, I kind of thought that they should be easily on the top 7 or top 6. So that was my expectation from KTM, but then it didn't work out. So again, KTM has to work on their problems, I feel, and they have a great package, and they were the only guys who's using a tubular chassis, so they have a lot of advantage and disadvantage as well. But last year they didn't look that they had any disadvantage, so they had nothing to lose, and they did a great job last year. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed with KTM that they will definitely find some way out to have a great season ahead. Yes, so then again, big talking point, Aprilia. I mean, oh my god, like so basically they are the only guy who has the concession in terms of developing their bike throughout the season. So KTM lost their concession last year. Aprilia still has their concession, so they can still develop the bikes, bring more parts, unlike other factories. But this year they bought a complete different package. The whole bike is basically new. So, and it felt so good on the track. It looked so good on the track. They have great aerodynamics package. They have good power. It looks very good in the corners. And the only problem I feel which the rider were complaining about is they have a problem. They don't have a problem. They are of course lacking top speed with the top guys. So they are doing some in the straight. They were doing somewhere around 340 plus, but they were looking, if they had somewhere around 147, 148 kilometers an hour, they will be very happy. So that is what they are looking at. So Alex Espargaro did an amazing race. I don't remember the last time when I saw Alex Espargaro finish a whole race. So usually he had mechanical issues last year. He had a crash. I mean, so this, to see him with the top guys, like he just finished 5 seconds down the top guys. So it's a great job from Aprilia, and knowing that Dovizioso also partnered with Aprilia as a testing guy. That will also give a lot of advantage to the team, because looking at Dovizioso, he has so much knowledge in terms of Motogp, and he has so much information from the experience from Ducati garage that he will definitely be able to help Aprilia and work their way up. So I mean, I feel Aprilia is already there. It's just that a little more tweaks here and there will definitely put him another more second or 2 seconds ahead, so that they can always fight with the top guys. So of course, their second rider, the Lorenzo Salvador, he has to work a lot because he's not showing any performance in that sense. I mean, Alex Espargaro has a lot of experience, but then he has to work as a team. So great job from Alex Espargaro again. He had a great race, and he fought with a lot of guys as well, and he had decent pace throughout the race actually. So then again, coming to the rookies, I mean, let's talk about the rookies. So I spoke about Joan Martin. I mean, he's one of my favorites from Moto2 actually, and I've been following for a very long time. And what a guy, man. Like, he's such a great guy on the track to, just to look at him, the way he talks, his body language, he's a great guy. I didn't expect him to just have a great, how do you nail a launch on a MotoGP bike on your first race? I mean, that is something which I guess everybody will take a note from Joan Martin. I mean, I have never seen something. I have been following MotoGP for such a long time, and I have never ever seen such a great launch from a MotoGP bike. Oh my god. I mean, this kid is something. He is going to be a great guy in the future, because he has that. Like, when you see a riders, these guys are really, really talented, but some guys, when you see them, you understand he is just different. So Marc Marquez is one of them, exceptional, a living legend. Rossi is already there. He's done things at his time, and of course Joan Martin, and there are other few guys as well. So then of course Luca Marini, he started with the Ducati as well, and he finished 16th, which is a very good performance for him, I would say, because he left Licker Acovona from KTM. from Morbidelli finished behind him. So finishing at 16th for Luca Marini on his first race, I'll give credit. Not a bad race, I would say. And finishing the whole race, of course, that is a great achievement, because people like say how do I say, Alex Marquez, Taka Nakagami, these are experienced guys. They have a whole season. With MotoGP last year, and Taka Nakagami is a very experienced guy, and they are crashing out of the race. And these guys, of course, there can be a lot of discussion with regards to why they crashed, but then they finishing the race is a great job. And then again, we can talk about Ineana Bastianini. He's such a great guy, the Moto2 world champion. He came and he performed. Simple. I am just astonished in terms of how these rookies graduate from Moto2 to MotoGP, and they just perform so well. I mean, if I ride a RC390, when I was riding a FZ16, and then when I graduated to RC390, so it took time for me. It was not that I was experienced a lot so that I can just take the bike and ride it like the way it should be ridden. No, it took time for me. It took a great time for me to understand the dynamics of the bike, how much I can lean, how well I can lean, what should my body positioning, etc., etc. So but then these guys are such talented guys. I mean, they have very limited track times. They don't have the bike at home saying that ki chalo bhai aaj MotoGP ka bike ghar pe rakha hua hai, we'll take the bike, take for a spin to understand how the bike works. No, they only have time in the track. They are only allowed to test the bike on the testing times, on their free practice, and then qualifying, and then race. These are only very limited times for you to understand the whole bike. So I somehow just lose my mind in terms of how these guys can adapt so fast and so well. And he finished on the 10th. I mean, look at the names. I mean, Stefan Bradl. He's the rider for Honda for a very long, test rider for Honda for a very long time, and he has replaced Marc Marquez throughout the last season. And this season also he rode, and he has come in front of him, like Stefan Bradl, Valentino Rossi, Michele Oliveira, winner last year, Brad Binder, winner last year, John Martin, rookie of course, Luca Marini, rookie of course, Iker Lecuona, Morbidelli, Lorenzo Salvador. I mean, these guys, these are big names, and this guy to come for his first race to come 10th, I mean, hats off. I mean, these guys are serious contender. I mean, give them a year, and I'm so sure these guy will come even stronger and give a hard times to the experienced guys, right? So all in all, it was a nail-biting race, I would say. And to see Yamaha win a race, and to the joy in their crew was a great scene to watch, because I haven't seen that for a very long time. And I really hope so, fingers crossed, that Yamaha has done a great job in terms of developing their bike throughout the winter, and to have a great season with Ducati and as well as Honda, because I'm sure next race again in Doha, Qatar, I don't think so Marcus will be joining us, but then next race I'm sure Marcus will be there. I hope so. So there will be huge competition in terms of Ducati, Honda and Yamaha. So I think at least Yamaha should have a play in the whole championship. Unlike last year, they were not even close. They were having engine issue, they were having grip issue, etc., etc. So it was a great race, and I just hope it gets more exciting. So I would like you all to share your views in terms of what you all felt about the whole race, and which was your best overtake in the whole race. Do comment so that I know what do you think about it. So the top three guys were Maverick Vinales winning the race, Johann Zarco, a great guy. I mean, I so wish good from him. He showed what he can do with the bike, on a MotoGP bike, when he was with Yamaha, and then with KTM it went on downfall when KTM was developing. So he had a very tough time with KTM, and then his career was almost coming to a standstill, and then he got an opportunity with Ducati and he showed what he can do. So he came second, and following by him was Bagnaia. I mean, what a guy. I don't know, if he didn't had a accident last year, he would have been a really serious contender, because he showed some really great pace. So I'm so happy for him that he won. He came third in the last race, and so these were the top three. And of course, there were other guys who did really well, but then these were the top three, and I feel there are going to be a lot of shuffles in terms of the whole championship. So it is just the first race, and it's very difficult in terms of judging who's going to be very good, because Unlike F1, things change a lot in MotoGP in the same track, in the same track, you know. So I feel that it's going to be a packed year ahead, and I'm so happy that the race is on and the MotoGP season has started. I'm sure guys you enjoyed this video, and please share your views in terms of the race, what you liked and what you didn't in my comment section, and I will join you again in the next race, which is this weekend as well. So yeah, always wear a helmet guys, ride safe, and I will see you again soon. Bye bye.